about what you guys think about AI and DAOs. Hey, Steve. So I'm just gonna start off with this kind of intro question of like, how do you believe DAOs will change? Sorry, DAOs will change because of AI. And yeah, Julio, no worries. I won't force you. Won't call on you. I see the train. So yeah, do you want to start off, Fred? Nope. Rage quit, full on. Uh, uh, well, I'll start actually. I just saw that Freddie muted.
So got a little glimpse.
No worries. So yeah, what do you think about AI and DAOs? Like, how are DAOs going to change because of AI? Like, what are the potential possibilities of how we restructure the way DAOs work today?
Well, that's a very difficult question, I think. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I have no idea how it. That's why I subscribe to this mostly to hear what other people have in mind, because DAOs are so prone to human interaction that it's really hard to think, for me, how AI is going to affect it. Maybe on the scaling up, but I have no clear idea.
Nice. Do you want to try passing? Oh, hey Suga. Do you want to try passing it to someone?
Go ahead.
Maybe Suga can take it.
Go,
The question is.
yeah.
The question is, how is AI going to change the way DAOs work?
Wow. I hope it makes them more efficient, inclusive. I think there's going to be a lot of positive changes. Yeah, let's say that. A lot of great tooling. I'm a little frozen here. Can everybody hear me? I'm going to get closer.
Yeah, we hear you.
Really? Okay. Yeah, maybe it looks like you get a lot of folks there, so I won't ramble on. But I think a lot of great tooling for making DAOs more human, oddly enough. And I'll leave it at that. Shall I pass it to? Let's see, who do we got there? How about Fred Bomba?
Oh no, Fred's the only person who had gone. Let's go over to Matt. It's okay.
Oh, so easy to say. Yeah. Okay. You go.
Yeah, sure. So I hope, I don't know, but I really hope that AI would decrease the clutter and the information noise, because I have so many notification tabs with like numbers in it. I have no time to really track that. But I would love if, I could work with more networks and understand where I'm needed or what's happening in general. And maybe AI can somehow help me facilitate all of that streams of information. Thanks. I'm passing to Stepa.
Hello, I just joined. Sorry, I might be a little bit out of context, but hey everyone.
Hey Stepa. Well, the question I just put it on the shared screen. It's how do you imagine AI will change the way DAOs work?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just opened the stream. Yeah, great. So I think the ultimate, in my opinion, the ultimate change could be basically taking up the governance function and becoming this impermanent and what's called unincentivized incentivizer in Scott Alexander essay, basically making decisions based on sentiment and what people want to do and what people kind of suggested to do, but
Для тех, кто подключается, еще раз напоминаю, что мы ждем еще 3.
Okay, well that sounds good. Here, we'll just pass it
Yeah.
for you. Let's throw it over to. Or do you have more to say, Stepa?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks, man. I'll throw it over to you, Nacy.
Hey, sorry. Thanks, Griff. Well, I think, of course, will facilitate so many things in terms of probably uh, communications. I'm right away thinking on that because that's like in my area. So I was thinking on that, thinking on a more efficient way of communicate things, to gather data and to read it. As for example, we have the praise, the reward system, and it is really, really fantastic the way uh, the AI is reading the information there and providing this profile of what you have done during the way you have been contributing to the community, and that's something I'm really love of. I really enjoy it. So I'm thinking on these kind of ideas. Of course, there are other things that during this unconference that we have been exploring, like as governance, the way we can probably uh, enhance these processes of taking decisions inside the organization. So yeah, some so many things to do or to consider by using the AI technology. Um, Now I'm passing it to Ron, Ron Rivers.
Hey, Ron. Can you hear us? I see you unmuted, but maybe you need to change the speaker or something. There's like a little drop down next to the mic. But we'll pass it back to you. Keep playing with your mic, and if you see the green box around your screen, then you know your mic is working. Let's throw it over to August.
Yo, hey guys. So I'm really fascinated by this topic, and I think the immediate like thought is that AI will enhance and improve how we get stuff done and like our efficiency. So like in automating certain tasks or automating like governance tasks, I think. And then kind of providing like a contextual layer for governance or where you can kind of get like like feedback on like a decision. I think like to kind of show you different like effects of your decisions. I think it could be used to kind of do like forecasting a little bit as well. And I've also thought about the idea of I think the natural progression, and this is a little bit further off from where we're at, but I imagine like DAOs kind of creating like collective identities and having like in creating like a shared AI model together. So I see a DAO like training an AI model like together, and then having that be like a kind of central hub or point of communication where people can like interact with it or could be used for different tasks, and also to kind of create like a collective identity of the DAO to like make decisions. So I envision like a progression where like everybody could like make a decision or like I'm trying to put it into words, but I see it really helping us, but I also see it kind of reminding us of that um, the important part about DAOs too are that they're like uniquely human, and that like we like there's some things that you can't automate, like there's some things that we'll never be able to, or that we probably like shouldn't automate. So I think that's kind of an important thought to consider as well. But yeah, I think it's gonna improve the way we coordinate, we get stuff done, and enable us to like learn faster. I think is ultimately the impact it's gonna have more efficiently.
Nice. Do you want to gamble and pass it to someone?
Sure. Has Adam gone?
Agree with a lot that's being said. I guess just to add, I'm curious in the future how AI might act as an arbiter, sort of a third party, helping us coordinate and govern. Smart contracts and the blockchain brought so much took a lot out of our hands so that we could trust each other a little bit better. I wonder if AI will get to a place where there'll be like this awesome arbiter that we could trust and kind of keep things on track. Thanks.
Nice. Do you want to try to pass it?
Yeah, so I like that. Hard to see. I can't see the whole screen, Griff. Can you pass it for me? Thank you.
Sure, with pleasure. Let's throw it to Anna Maria.
Thank you. Okay, I was thinking what should be my answer to this as we were going, and I really don't know what to say except that AI is here to increase our productivity in as many ways in design, governance, marketing. I know that from my personal experience, but of course there's a lot of fear coming with AI. Will AI take our jobs? Will it help us, or will it just be not useful for us? But as what I think is that we should trying to harness this new technology, apply it in as many ways as we can, and see where it takes us. That's basically my take on it. So just go with the flow and continue doing what we are doing, but with the help of AI, because it's really useful for us in general. And I think I will gamble and pass it to Steve, because I think that Steve didn't go.
Yeah, I think I'll just echo people. I'll play a bit of devil's advocate. I think there could be a potential of less human connection with all the AI, tools and whatnot. So that will become even more important as we use these tools more and more. And finding ways to give more of a human side will also become a problem that will arise from this. Is my thought. Who hasn't gone? Dr. Sugar?
Suga already went, but looks like Ron is ready.
Ron, all right. Ron, let's go.
Let's see. Can you guys hear me now? I think we're
Yeah,
good.
we hear
All
you.
right. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, so excited and appreciate the opportunity. I'll just share briefly. We're actually implementing some AI stuff in our DAO already. So I'm with Spirit DAO, and we're essentially a community that's leveraging a book, like a 500-page book, as a protocol for new frameworks of meaning and value. So one thing we're doing, and I'd love everyone's insight and looking forward to the conversation, is we have a front-facing and an internal. Essentially, we trained an LLM on the book. So we have a front-facing one where you can interact with it, but then internally we have one where not only can you interact with it, but then we can the community is adding stuff to it that kind of aligns. And the idea that we're using it for is because we're a social impact DAO, it's really, we want to leverage the LLM to kind of get a pulse on the community. What are people asking, and more importantly, when are they asking it? So kind of time stamping that information. And then kind of creating community graphs of kind of intent, questions, etc. around that, and kind of guiding our mission and purpose in alignment with our values and kind of what the community needs within the immediate present.
Very cool. Very cool. Kind of along what August said as well. In practice, do you want to try to pass it, Ron? Do you want to gamble? Oh wait.
The gamble, is anyone not gone yet? I kind of stepped in a little late, so I apologize.
Well, take it, Ivy.
Yeah, I think everyone talked about governance, but I'm also curious if AI can help with forecasting the DAO spending and managing funds by DAO. So I think that's the only thing that people haven't talked about yet, and I'm curious if it will happen in the near future. Yeah, I pass it to Louise.
I think Louise, yeah. Louise, it looks like your mic isn't working either. But definitely keep trying, and we'll pass it back to you. Notice if you can keep trying, and if you see a green box around your face when you speak. Oh, hey, there it is.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the tips and the extra time. So yeah, thanks for everything. And I think from my side, I think on a more, I think it's already interesting on a more immediate, immediate phase, kind of right now, seeing how AI can improve and improve productivity in process that already exist in DAOs. And to support like more people to take like autonomous initiatives and so on to give these extra kind of hands of support. And then eventually how it can be used for improving like a collective awareness of the DAO somehow. So for it to be tracking some parameters of it, and then like be able to show when there is something different, where for instance a topic is being brought up on like different places, like and these kind of things. Uh, and yeah, I think in short there would be some things I'm interested in. And then I can pass it to Giulio.
Julio's gives a good pass, but he's a trick because he's on a train and can't talk. But it was a good one. I'll throw it for you though. Let's throw it to Faller. Faller, are you there? Let's see.
Yes, I think it's working now. Hi, everybody. Yeah, a lot of things have already been said. We think DAOs are good at governing data and AI. It's a different topic, but I think there will be a lot of data and AI DAOs. And what I also can imagine is the concept of plurality is pretty complex, and probably it can help to make it work and also prove some level of these design questions in the plurality context. So at least we are very interested in how this evolves and might be able to make it a little bit simpler.
Nice. And we're getting down there on people. If you want to gamble, you can. You've been here, so you could try passing it if you want. But I can also pass it for you.
Yeah, please pass over. I don't have the oversight.
No problem. Let's throw it to Java. Java, how do you imagine AIs will change the way DAOs work?
Just imagine, hi everyone. I'm just imagining it as an assistant first, right? To help in being more productive and taking decision or summing up things, just to help everybody save some time. But yeah, on the real decision making process, it will be another level, and it's a bit frightening. But yeah, at least in the world, in the Web3 world, I mean the blockchain space, based on contracts, there is lots to do. Even if I'm a lack of the necessary knowledge to train such assistant on a governance proposal to analyze and like things like smart contracts and yes, community discussions, this kind of stuff. That is what I'm looking at.
Nice. Here, and I'll just pass it for the rest of the time because it's getting nearly impossible. How about Natalie?
Well, my cat's trying to attack my braid. Um, I'm actually excited to. My cat's having the zoomies too. I'm actually excited to see AI reduce the bureaucracies and kind of close up the work stuff. Because I've been in Dallas for way too long, and we work way too much for very little reward. So hopefully AI cuts into how we contribute and all that other stuff. Now I'm gonna go kick my cat out.
Nice. How about you, Real Crypt? RealCrypt.c.
Hey. I guess what I'm really excited about in terms of AI and how they can help DAOs is mainly with the individual workflows, which I feel like Fowler was really talking about a little bit. But beyond that, I'm in a Discord server where there's like this SEO wizard guy, and someone was like, "How long does it take to write a blog post?" And they're like, 2 to 3 days, and he pops in, he's like, 5 minutes. It's completely AI based workflow for him. He's just kind of figured out how to make it work really well. Beyond that, I think it's really going to be something that can help you properly weight uh, whether you can trust input from particular users or not. I think, which may seem dystopian, but if it helps you run a DAO more effectively in terms of weighting how much you should listen to someone, I think that's really a big value add.
I have something to add to that, and this is back to I remember Griff, you had a I think it was a podcast where you talked about like you could if you could train an AI to help you make decisions for governance, like that could kind of like almost be like a second filter for you in terms of like looking like reading a post ahead of time, and then it would tell you like a score of like your proposed like resonance or something like with a post or like with a yeah with a proposal. I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one. That's mine. Let's see, but and I think I can dive a little deeper into that because I think we actually got everyone now. Uh, and yeah, that's my dream. Is like I'm a delegate for too many groups, and I wish I could just feed all of my blog posts, all of my DMs, everything into a personal AI, like one that I have on my server, that can just magically vote for me. It has my voting key, and it will tell me how it's going to vote in advance as soon as it sees a question, and I can like train it to be my signal. And I think this is eventually where I hope to see AIs be used. And it's very similar to what you were saying, August, and also what's going on in Spirit DAO, where for Ron is this idea that can we actually turn DAOs, get rid of voting and make it signal aggregation so that DAOs can actually like see who has what opinions, and then kind of automate decision making processes. And because that's really the slow part of DAOs, right? It's this: how do we make decisions? And making decisions is really hard. In the end, what I think we want DAOs to do is kind of I think someone else said it as well. Maybe it was you, August. The collective identity. Be like a collective identity that kind of moves a mass in a direction and helps support different causes in that direction. That like the DAO has a vision, and the AI can help us achieve that vision and like roll around that vision, or like kind of meander our way to that vision based off of the signals of the community. And so I think we're working towards it. But one thing I think a lot of people would love to hear more about Spirit DAO, because it almost sounds like you're on that direction right now, Ron. So I don't know if you're interested in telling us a little bit more about how you guys are training your LLM and like what you've learned from taking this path so far.
I'm not speaking.
We hear you now.
Oh, wonderful. Sorry about that. I have like 80 microphones, so it's hard to choose the right one. So excited to chat with you guys about it. Just a quick aside, because I just wanted to make a quick comment on one of the things that was mentioned, and I'll dive into Spirit DAO. I think we want to be really careful with leveraging AIs to kind of judge what is and is not acceptable, like speech or ideation within the community. I think it was kind of mentioned. They're gonna, for the most part, be focused on reinforcing the past onto the present, right? Like kind of like coalescing around a vision of the ideal and saying this is what it should be. But if we go too far in that direction, right, we could stifle innovation, stifle like challenge and change, which I think DAOs want to embrace to the fullest degree possible. So with a kind of transition, so Spirit DAO, I may have had the opportunity to kind of connect with you guys, some of you guys personally. But so Spirit DAO is kind of a weird DAO where it's a social impact DAO. It's we're going to be incorporating as a nonprofit, and what we're doing right now with the AI being kind of a community DAO is, and this is only launched like 3 weeks ago, so I don't have like a tremendous amount of content to kind of share with you outside of it's being used. We have a front-facing model that's available. I'll type in the chat. This is like the book website, which you can like download for free, but we call it SenseMaker AI. So it essentially analyzes the book. The central theme of kind of what we do is the book outlines new frameworks of meaning and value informed by cosmology and physics. It's an attempt at a framework for a non-religion religion, which I think, and I would argue, is very important to the larger spread of like pluralism and the kind of Web3 ethos beyond just those of us in this space. So to that extent, the front-facing one is purely trained on the book. So I'll give you, it's only on the book, and it's for people who are not part of the community, and that's really insightful because so far what we've seen is like it gives us a sense of like, so someone's new, they go to the website, they haven't read the book, and they just want like some initial questioning. What is that? And that's kind of our intent in the immediate present is that every month we'll actually run all these results, we'll aggregate the results, and then run them through a separate language model to kind of like identify trends. And so, for example, the front-facing one, we may want to highlight specific information up front in the synopsis, for example. Like if people are asking the same questions, it might give us a really easy way to say, okay, as soon as you hit the site, like what's the first thing you see? And maybe it's like these, a core statement around the most commonly asked questions. Internally, we can we add on to the LM database. So it's not only is it the book, but it's also like other articles of relevance, specifically in like, for example, cosmology and physics that are kind of like further furthering our theories and our beliefs. Maybe stuff that challenges it, and also kind of third party stuff to kind of not only better kind of connect our community with the ever changing kind of philosophy, because that's the intent, it's intended to evolve, but also get a sense for our community. And someone did mention, I will pause in a moment, but someone mentioned like keeping all discussion. I want to be clear, this is not, our model is not tracking everything. It's purely like a web-based thing. So you have to go to it and you have to enter content into it. So it's not a, we're aware of power dynamics. It's not like a deep state spy system internally. It's just like, if you want to kind of, explore your thoughts with an AI based on the book, it's a really easy way to do it. And, the book's 500 pages, so that's a barrier to entry, where an AI takes all of like 3 minutes to do it. So I'll pause if anyone has any questions or wants me to dive deeper into anything that we've done or the tech stack, etc.
Yeah, any questions? I mean, I have some, but well, I'm just curious because one of the things that you were saying was that you were trying to train, especially the internal one, to kind of have a pulse on the community. And you had mentioned that it would digest other research materials, but how do you really get the internal AI to understand what various community members are thinking or be on the pulse of the community?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So right now it's extremely manual. It's like we just essentially at the end of the month, and I just want to preface, this has been out for 3 weeks, so we haven't even done the first one. But essentially what we'll do is we'll collect and we're a small community, so it's not like we have a ton of information right away, but we're going to kind of every month we'll take all the inputs that were inputted, and we timestamp them as well, and we'll kind of map that in a database, and then we'll leverage AI to say, hey, can you find trends in this? Is there anything, and then of course over time, as you have several months, right, you can kind of coalesce all of that data to give you a signal. So it's more about like, what are they asking? What are they inputting? What are they, what questions do they have in relation to their life and our philosophies and practice, whether it be how to apply them or deeper dives. So in short, Griff, I don't have a good answer yet. We're kind of figuring out as we go, but we thought it would be really valuable and certainly able to kind of provide a layer of intelligence that would be extremely difficult to do independently, right? Like finding substrates of data and kind of commonalities across the community inputs. So yeah, that's our idea. That's what we're kind of doing now. In the future, we can imagine it being, one agent, is the front end agent, which automatically feeds into a separate agent, right? Which can kind of do a more real time thing. But I think that's, A, when we have more usage, and B, when we're kind of a little bit more robust in our community.
So the AI is kind of becoming a super community member who learns everything that's ever happened in the community and can kind of be used to ask questions about where the community is going and anything that is interesting recently that's coming up. Does that summarize it well?
No, I do want to clarify. So it is not in its present form everything that's happening in the community. Quite the opposite. It's what are our community members asking to our private kind of LLM based on the book. So it's very much about
Mm.
because we are like a spiritual DAO. It's very much about the philosophy and practice, and like how do I implement that like in my daily life. I think in the future we'd like to extend it to kind of what you're talking about, but at the same time, I think that's got to be a community decision because we want to be really respectful of again power dynamics and just creating a welcoming environment. And I think that there's obviously, as there should be, right? When we talk about like mass surveillance and mass recording, it kind of puts a veil on things that I think people may or may not be comfortable with, especially because DAO members have access to it. So people may be kind of I don't know. I'm kind of like going on a tangent right now, but yeah, in short, not yet. That's a cool idea. Right now, it's purely based on like the book and like what they're asking. That's what we're analyzing. What they voluntarily contribute to the LLM.
Interesting. Okay, so really you're just trying to train an expert on this philosophy, and that's what you're training the AI to do. I'm gonna keep bouncing it off of you until we get
Yeah,
it.
no stress. Yes, but also in addition, it's like the idea is twofold, right? Not only to record what kind of inputs, questions, and insights are community members asking it, right? Because what did we miss, right? The book is obviously it's incomplete. It's never going to be enough for everyone. So the idea is like, what are we missing, and like what messages maybe aren't resonating, and then more importantly, not more importantly, but also we're time stamping all the entries. So the long term vision is can we get like a temporal sense on like where is our community feeling? Are these questions changing over time? Is there a trend in terms of what people are asking based on, let's say, like total circumstance, what's going on in the world, how is this making people feel? And then I think that's gonna, the temporal aspect is something that the AI can probably do uniquely well in terms of analyzing and providing trends that would be extremely difficult for myself, my limitations, or any of the other like individual DAO members to kind of just wrap their heads around, in a timely fashion.
Very cool. That's amazing. Does anyone have any more questions for Ron? I honestly haven't heard of a DAO that's integrating with AI in a more deeper sense. So that's really incredible, Ron. Like, and I'm curious if anyone else has other AI projects that they would like to highlight within DAOs that they see really advancing, like taking it into a new direction. Yeah, August.
So we have a possible way to like maybe we could be a partnership with you. So we're developing something called Respect, where communities can rank content and vote on like how much respect they think a post should have, like a Discord message. And like you could use that within the AI to kind of see like a weight of those posts or like a weight of that content, where it's the human feedback, the human review of that content. That could be one possible. My co-founder is actually here. His name is Brady. He's Real Crypt, but that's a tool that we're working on right now.
That's super cool. I assume it's still in super alpha, like you guys, it hasn't been released, or what's the state of the tool?
Right now we have it as a Discord bot, so we can add it to a Discord server. And then you can like type /respect in the user. It's really similar to how praise works, except ours is more like long term, where you can keep your respect scores over time. And then we have like seasons, and there's like a leaderboard, so you can see the most like contributing members of a server or community. And we're primarily trying to build it also for like for work and for DAOs to use, to kind of document contributions. And we have a way to we track certain values, so communities can upvote or send respect to somebody's to a builder value, so like how much they're contributing to the server, to a Brady, help me out, what's the other one, to a guide value, like how much or how well they're being a teacher in the server. We call that our kind of a guide, kind of like our governance role. And then the other one we're thinking about is like an impact role too. Hey Brady, are you here?
Yeah. But yeah, with
But
those
yeah, it's very
scores,
similar to
like
praise.
what August is kind of getting at is you can sort of tag these different kinds of messages that people deem as governance like messages or contributor like messages, and train these on different types of personas in the community, which I think is kind of like an extension of what Ron is sort of saying in terms of like that line of thinking.
And so is the goal of the AI to be like a kind of a community manager assistant of sorts, or what are your thoughts there?
Honestly, that's something that I haven't really thought about. Like, I guess I see communities wanting to track different values. So it's really something that I think one can be used as a community manager, or two can just sort of be like this brain layer of I'm new to this community. What does governance look like? And what can I talk to get a quick understanding of what governance looks like in this community or what contributing looks like in this community? I think there's many different use cases, but community manager is definitely one of the leading ones.
Very cool. Are there DAOs that are using it now?
Nope, just some Discord servers. Yeah, we're in 6 Discord servers, but honestly, I really don't know that much DAOs. I feel like it's hard for me to find DAOs. Like, I mean, it seems like a lot of people in here are kind of active in Web3 and stuff, so I'm kind of interested to just see the type of DAOs that people work in and different problems you guys face in terms of like, oh, like this really is tough when it comes to running a DAO, or this is something that is kind of annoying, stuff like that. So it's cool to be in here, and I really love the energy in the call. So I really appreciate you organizing this.
Yeah, thanks. And does anyone have any other interesting use cases that they sing? Because I want to go into that actually, real crypt, a little bit more. But first, in this like pattern of what other AI tools exist out there, and then I think we can go more into how we can use these AI tools better, more of a from a dreaming standpoint. But yeah. So, are there other tools that DAOs that you've seen in DAOs that people are using that use AI?
This team that I met in East Denver, I built with them. Right now, it's free. They will follow up and try to sell you their Discord community service stuff. But right now, you can download it for free, upload any sort of document, and I think it might be good for communities to experiment with. Right now in my DAO, they have an onboarding function, which is really nice. So the moment they enter the Discord, a channel gets opened up to the side, and they get to interact with the bot, just to ask questions about the DAO, the setup, what the heck is going on. And I've seen some people really fool around with this document to kind of train the bot after the fact further than what sort of this little group put together themselves. So just something cool to check out.
What's the name of that tool, or do you have any more information on it?
In the chat, the company is called community1.io. The bot is called Spark, and then I worked on this thing called Quest GPT with them, which was a D&D game master, and you would play in the Discord, and you get a cool NFT at the end based off of, if you slay the dragon, you get a cool dragon NFT at the end. That part's just cool and fun. It's good for engagement. Also worth checking out.
Very cool. That's super cool. I think community management is definitely one of the most obvious use cases. It kind of feels like all three of the projects so far have kind of been around, had like some inkling of like engaging with the community at large. Are there any other cool AI tools that people have seen in practice? I'll also mention praise. I think praise, along with respect, is kind of a similar idea where there is a, when we use praise, you dish praise to someone, and that praise has a lot of data, a lot of interesting data. This person praised that person for this thing, and then so there's kind of like a data mapping with very unstructured context. And then there is a quantification in some DAOs who go full to the next step with praise, actually quantify each praise. And so praise just started to use this quantification plus the context to auto-generate bios for every community member. So you can go into like the TEC Discord or I don't think it's live in this Discord yet, but it's live in the Giveth Discord as well, where you can type in /whois and just put a name, and it will generate a bio for you. And it will cache that bio for a week, and then so that it doesn't have to regenerate all the time. You're not making a million calls and paying OpenAI too much money, but it'll constantly update. Another thing that they're working on is like an org chart. You have all of these mappings, and you have this interesting contextual information. You can kind of see who works with who, and you can build a DAO org chart, and you can kind of build pods based off just the praise data. Now, the biggest challenge here is, of course, the praise data is not, it's not omnipotent. Like, people have to put it in there, and so it'll be interesting to see if people game it eventually. That people start praising each other, and they're not really doing that work. I don't know. It'll just be really interesting to see how it all evolves, and how these tools evolve with the adversarial nature of some DAOs, and the games that you can play, especially when money is at stake. But for now, we're definitely in the honeymoon phase with AI, and everything is really fun. So yeah. Any other tools that people have out there that they've seen that are interesting? Cool. Well, then let's dive into some of the topics that were brought up in the initial round where we passed around. And one of the things that I think Max said, and there was another person, I think Jabba mentioned it, and also Luis, this idea of increasing the signal and reducing the noise. I definitely saw some. I think Gitcoin was part of a beta round for a project that was like summarizing forum posts, and also summarizing the comments in the forum posts, and so you could see, so you don't have to read the whole forum post. Does anyone else have any other ideas about how to use AI to cut the noise and increase the signal? I'll throw out what Luis was mentioning, or I think it was someone was mentioning that it's like pointing out having like awareness of who is giving valuable information and valuable context and who is not. Like, it'll be really interesting when we have like communications connected to your Ethereum address, and like if you see a whale, like someone who has either a lot of reputation or a lot of like transferable tokens in a DAO making a comment, that it would be great if an AI could notice that and be like, hey, these people who have a lot of power in your DAO, either a highly regarded delegate or something, they're making some like sketchy statements, like red alert. There's a disturbance in the force. I know for managing DAOs, it's really important to know the stakeholders that are talking, because there are just random people who come into a Discord and start talking trash without any actual need. But being able to know who is like has a lot of stake in your DAO and who doesn't, also for positive comments, a lot of random bots could even come in to kind of say nice things about your DAO, when most of the DAOs like, this isn't going the direction that I really want, but maybe there's just like one or two people that are training bots to come in. I would love to see DAOs. Yeah, this is my I have a bird in the back. Maybe I'll go grab it, and you guys can say hi. I think it wants attention. Sorry, Julio. But yeah, Natalie, I would love to hear your opposing view on this. Do you want to jump in?
Fight. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I think there's a tendency in Web3, and just my observation, and maybe I'm like an old grandma now in Web3. But there's so much hyper emphasis on like pushing up wells because people want access to those resources, or visibility from those people. I would love to see us as an ecosystem focus on people who have less visibility, less tokens, and weight that much more than we would like actual whales because they already have power. They already have whether perceived, real, or imagined. And so I would love to see people who have less visibility, less tokens to be weighted more. And oftentimes those people are in our DAOs that are BIPOC folks, they're queer, they're disabled, they may have less uh, they may participate a lot more. They may have their labor extracted a lot more, but that, in my opinion, has not kind of pushed forth more tokens and resources for them. And so, I would love to see us focus on tools that actually can do what we thought Web3 was going to do, and that was equalize the playing field and actually like uplift people who may not have tokens and kind of disincentivize vulture capitalism, which is also another issue for another day. And because like I said in my last sentence, like the lack of power sharing and wealth redistribution is a much huger issue than what the conversations like on Twitter and our ecosystem are having around contributions and how we contribute and all that other stuff. The real issue is the lack of power sharing and how we communicate and build belonging. And we have to do the work. And so I would love to see these tools really focus on that. And there's so much racial bias in AI tools that we also are not talking about. So.
Ron and Real Crypt, I saw you both kind of raise your hands. I don't know which one of you want. Yeah, go for it, Ron.
Natalie's point and perspective. I'll just share one thing that we're doing because I think to that point, Natalie, it's going to be extremely difficult to ever kind of mitigate the power dynamics associated with ERP20s and whales when that's like the main way we kind of leverage tokens to fundraise and kind of build initial operating capital. One thing we're doing a little different, I'll just share it with everyone. It's got its pros and cons, but we're primarily leveraging Unlock Protocol for non-transferable or soul-bound renewable memberships. So the idea is like you buy the token, but it expires after a year. You have to kind of re-engage. And because we're like wrapping ourselves in a nonprofit, that actually is going to likely be a write-off as well. The flip side is, of course, right, if you're not leveraging the ERC20 method and just an initial token offering, your initial capital is way down. So you're not, instantly amassing, millions to kind of play with or hundreds of thousands or whatever. I just don't know that there's going to be a way to relieve that tension when, the very nature of ERC20 token sales favor wealthy interests, favor people with wealth. So I think it's very difficult to kind of like start with that and then say, but we want to have kind of an equitable distribution or distribution of advantage within the ecosystem when the founding kind of raise is based on what could essentially be argued is not at all an equitable method. So I'll pause.
Yeah, and actually, Real Crypt, you also raised your hand. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that. I think Ron brings up a good point. Like with that inequitable round of tokens are inherently tied to money, and money is something that is not equally distributed through the capitalist system. You're inherently going to have some bias in that power dynamic. But I think to Griffin's point on tools like Giveth and Respect, I guess praise and respect, it's something where uh, these are different kinds of data that you're tracking. So, and a different kind of capital in a sense, rather than in financial capital, we have social capital, and I really think that's where understanding that dynamic of the DAO becomes really valuable. And I know when people talk about, this idea of redistributing wealth, they're always like, oh, how do you incentivize good contributions if you're just going to give money to people who aren't really valuable? And I think that the misconception in the context of DAOs is that if you don't bring money in the token round, you aren't valuable to the DAO. And I think providing a clear and objective way to prove value other than financial capital is really critical. And I think social capital is really a great way to do that. In terms of like making that financial system more fair, it's really just a matter of time and a matter of decisions that are informed by different kinds of capital, and really just that's something that is, I mean, it's plagued humanity since we had capital. Like it's a problem we've had for probably 2,000 years at the least. So it's something where we really don't have the swarm or the swarm dynamics or system dynamics to really make that a fair game, in the sense that when you start out in life, you start out at a position, and that's not a position you had any control over, and that's going to be one of the biggest impacts on the path that your life takes. So I guess it's kind of a deep problem, but that's sort of my take on things. Would love to hear anyone else's opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can chime in, and then I would love also to hear Natalie's take as well. But I think it's really hard in DAOs because it's contextual based off of what the purpose of the DAO is. So some DAOs are more like a company, more like a business, right? Where there's like they have a goal of increasing revenue and that's what they're trying to do. Other DAOs are more social DAOs, community DAOs, and based on the type of DAO, each DAO has a stakeholder group, and that's the biggest challenge: is how do we map the stakeholders? So we need to make sure that we're mapping the stakeholders appropriately, and that I do think it is important not to be like, so when you quantify things, it gets a little bit too quantified. I really like this quadratic approach where it's like, yeah, if you're a higher stakeholder and you have, let's just, 100 social rep, you should have more say than the person with one social rep, but you shouldn't have 100 times more say, maybe 10 times more say, right? Because the fact that they're an individual person is also really important. Then we have the challenge with like, hey, is it really an individual person or is it actually a bot army that one person put in and they put one token into a bunch of different groups? So like, there are these challenges that have to be mitigated, but I think the main point is that I think it's important to recognize that there are stakeholders that are more valuable than other people. Like, I think and it depends on the context, but like, there are people who have put their heart and soul into a project for 3 years, and then there's people who just entered the Discord yesterday, and clearly they shouldn't have the same voice in a project. It's one thing when you're governing laws of like the land, then it makes a lot more sense that it's one person, one vote. But when it's a product or a project that you have a variety of people, you really want to manage the stakeholder inputs in a variety of ways, I would say, because in some ways, actually, the person who's worked for a product for 3 years has lost perspective on what external users actually want. So in some contexts, like user feedback and user experience research, they have less of a say than a random person coming in the Discord, and it's really about the context on this decision making, on the decisions. So I don't know, Natalie, what do you think about all that?
I think ultimately we have to have a coming to blockchain moment and ask whether we value having a few people being hyper resourced in our DAOs, or if we value empowering people across the board to participate and engaging in some really serious conversations around wealth redistribution, real serious conversations around equity and how we share power amongst each other. And if all we value is a person who has all the money, I can assure you, like at least the DAOs that I participated in the last, I don't know how many years, those people, not all of them, and some of them are my friends, but like not all of them have had like the quote unquote voice of reason in some of these conversations. And so some of those people, especially folks that come from my community, don't often have voices within DAOs. It's the same, I'm just be very candid here, the same Black folks, maybe like 4 of us, that are active across the space. And like, but there's a bunch of other people that sit and lurk because they are not empowered. They don't have wealth to like buy all these tokens, especially maybe 2001, 2000, not 2001, dang, I went back, 2021, 2022 kind of era of DAOs. You had the same people kind of being seen and visibility, getting visibility. And so how do we actually share power? And most people don't want to give up their resource. Most people don't want to give up their privilege or power or positioning in the ecosystem. So I'm curious, and it's a rhetorical question. how do we kind of solve for equity, and we have to do the work. If we only value the people with resources, we're going to get the same voices, and unfortunately they're going to be I'm going to be frank, like cis white men. And so if we want to like get more participation of voting, we have to invite people in to do so, and that's not always going to be by valuing the person who has the most money or the most tokens. And so but I've experienced, just in my opinion, a lot of people don't want to do the actual work of dismantling or confronting their own privilege in these spaces. And so sorry to be like a whatever, but that's just
No, totally. It's a tough situation, you know, because it's also the skin in the game and impact of the decisions, you know, and so yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I think making sure that we design our governance systems in a way that they can evolve over time and that they are actually decentralized, and calling them out when they're not, right? Uh, but yeah, well, we only have 1 minute left, unfortunately, and but I would love if anyone has any final. Oh, you know what? Actually, what I want to promote is in this unconference, we are doing Giveth is doing kind of an internal hackathon, and we have a lot of interesting projects. And we did it also in April, and you can go find the various like projects that different members of the Giveth community created and presented. And so we're also going to do that this week. We have the non-dev portion on Thursday early morning in the Americas. We have like the first, or no, yeah, I think so. I think it's Thursday early morning in the Americas. We have the first round of non-coder presentations, and then after that, later in the day on Friday, we also have another non-coder. Sorry, Zazu is my bird. He's going wild. He loves AI. He is AI. But we have another presentation that will be really interesting, and you'll get to see like almost like just a fast-paced like 5-minute presentation about something cool that someone built with AI right now to make DAOs better. So we're doing that this week and next week. It's part of the Unconference schedule. So definitely check it out if you feel like you want to see more ways that AI and DAOs can work together. Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you for a very interesting discussion. We'll definitely chat more in the future.
Thanks, Griff.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Griff. Thank you, guys. Griff, do you have a few minutes to talk?